All right, welcome back. So today is a drag day. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the new Losi drag car, ready to run, the no prep car versus the IROC Z, blue IROC in the back there. That's a full custom based off a Slash. It's a Chuckworth RC chassis, mid-motor build. Now the IROC back there was the latest one I built, and it seems to be doing really good. It has some really good electronics in it, set up for no prep versus my DR10, which is the missing link right here. Some of my favorite wheels on the DR10. We're going to take a look at that chassis versus a Slash build, which is Watermelon in the background. We're going to go ahead and take a look at Watermelon. That seems to be my fastest car back there, and that was totally based off a Slash, stock electronics, based off the PROLINE build. So it has PROLINE shocks on it, but everything else seems to be Slash. We did the low center of gravity. That was one of my first drag builds, and we're going to take a look at that. Plus, we're going to take a look at the new Losi. We're going to take a look at the electronics on the inside, and then we're going to take a look at the Chevy 2 down here. That's also based off a Slash. So basically 3 of these are based off Slashes. One's a full custom Slash build, which the Slash platform has been around for a long time, and there's a lot of parts available for the Slash. Now when the DR10 hit the market, missing link, I immediately grabbed it, took it outside, and we had a hard time getting that thing dialed in, getting it to launch straight. You really had to play with the shock tuning. You had to play with clutch slippage to really get that thing to work properly. So yeah, if you guys are interested in seeing the new Losi and all the other builds that I've done with the drag setup, stay tuned. We're going to get into it, and hopefully this is helpful to a lot of guys out there. I've got a lot of money into these builds, and I do it for fun. I don't do it for any kind of competition out there. I dial them in, and I basically run to beat my own time, to get my top speed. But hopefully this year, who knows, maybe we'll take them out, do some no prep, and see how they do. They're definitely fun builds. They're fun to race against your buddies, and they're definitely fun to meet up with a bunch of RC enthusiasts to race down some asphalt somewhere, or some concrete, or a parking lot. But mind you, when you're racing down a parking lot and there's competition, people are going to run into you. You're going to flip, you're going to crash, you're going to break a lot of stuff. So here we go. We're going to get right into this. Be back in a second. I'm going to start popping clips and popping lids, and we're going to basically compare the missing link, which is the DR10 RTR, versus the Losi RTR, because those are the only 2 that you can buy out of the box, set up for no prep drag racing. All the other ones you have to build yourself and modify. So Traxxas is coming out with a C10 from what I hear, from what we can tell on the site. That's going to be an RTR, and I'm very excited about that, so I can do a comparison between the Traxxas, the Losi, and the Team Associated DR10. So missing link, Losi. We'll be right back. All right, so I went ahead and placed the DR10 body back on the missing link. The reason I did this is when I set up the missing link's body, I set up the body post to accept either or body. All on the roof is all wrinkled up. And the first run, right here, you can tell the tires rubbed through the body. So I ran this thing stock. It is no longer stock because we made all the changes to it. So my thoughts were to possibly put this back to stock, since I do have all the pieces, the motor, ESC, everything, to make it stock, and compare it against the new Losi drag car. But the way I feel about that is putting the DR10 back to stock really isn't going to prove anything. I truly believe that the Losi is going to be a lot better. But we'll let you guys decide. Comment down below if you want to see this one back to stock and run it against the Losi. I truly believe the Losi is definitely going to take it out. And this, with all the upgrades and dialed in, I think we'll have a hard time keeping up with that Losi. But I don't know at this point because I haven't ran the Losi. So let me crack the lid to the DR10. And just so you guys understand what's going on, you see these wrinkles in the roof? This is the way I got this body. And that was the whole reason I bought a new body, was because getting this from Team Associated really was pretty terrible. These cut lines right here, all jagged up. This is a two-piece body because the front nose comes off. But I had all these waves, like right here, not cut straight. Right in here, as you see, not cut straight. Just a terrible job on this body. So, but blemishes like that could be worth money in the future, and I don't really want to damage up this body, just like I really don't want to damage up the Losi body. And that's why I ordered two of them, one to run and one to save the body. So I will be building a body for the Losi drag car. But let me bring you guys in. We're going to take a closer look at what I've done. So I am on a tripod trying to do this the best I can. So basically what I did to my DR10 was I made a bunch of spring changes to the shocks. I left the factory shocks on there. I just made spring changes to it to get it to handle better. I also took Arma's 4S BLX 120 ESC and the BLX motor, which is a 2400 kV from the 4S line off my OUTCAST, and stuck it in the DR10. And then went ahead and changed out the wheelie bar with a 3D printed slash mount that I modified for the DR10 to run this wheelie bar. I didn't like the factory one. Too much flex, too much twist in it. Wouldn't keep it straight. And then, of course, put the reef wheels on this setup. So got the rake, got the stance, got everything doing well. You can see rocks are still in it. And that's pretty much it. The biggest thing was playing with the gearing and playing with, even though this is a 4S system, I can run it on 2S and it packs a punch. Now, I still believe that the KV needs to be higher, around a 5400, something like that, so I can utilize the speed. But for a takeout system, it works really well. And then the way you adjust your battery forward or back with this foam pad and these straps really work out good. And the plastic chassis, of course, you know, everything seems to work pretty good. Took a lot to get it to work properly, but now that it's working properly with the steel drive shafts and all that stuff that came factory, I really didn't modify the chassis too much. Basically, all I really did was change out the electronics, play with the clutch, play with the gearing, and got it driving straight. As you can see, that's about the distance I have to the wheel stand. That'll get the weight onto the rear wheels. The front of this is really light. You can see how springy I am up front and how I slowed the shock rate down. Same thing with the rear. The rear squats and comes up slowly, kind of like the DR10 is, or not the DR10, the Losi is out of the box. So now that we've looked at that platform, let's pop the lid to the Losi and we can compare them. Really a nice body. The cut lines are really good. The stickers, you can get them to sit flat, giving a little bit of rub to it. The wing, very nice. The body with the lights and the quality overall compared to the DR10, well worth the added cost, in my opinion. The quality of the body is just much better, and you don't have to, like I did, build another body. You might have to make some changes to it. So, let me flip this around. So the first thing that I notice putting them side by side is that the Losi is a little bit longer compared to the DR10. You can see how springy it is. You can see how slow the back comes up, and that's kind of like how I set up my DR10. Real springy up front, not as springy because I don't want that bounce. This one comes down and just stays planted. You can see the turnbuckles and the style sweep back on both of them. So you can tell these two turnbuckles are sweeping back. These are sweeping back as well. So the layout's pretty much the same. This has a lower profile stance to the shock tower. The bumper on the Losi is a lot lower to the ground compared to the DR10. I mounted the ESC off to the side where this one is well balanced in the center. You can see the battery layout in the center is pretty much the same. You have a lot more room on the DR10 to mount stuff on the sides, where this is all taken up in a pretty skinny chassis, and that's why you have these big side bumpers compared to the small side bumpers here. So the chassis to the DR10 is wider. I think the longer wheelbase is really going to help the DR10 keep that front end down. Having the metal servo up front versus the plastic servo, I think having weight up front is definitely good. I like how all the support to the shock towers are. Let me get you guys down. So, I don't know if you guys can see, but the bumper is a lot higher on the DR10, and this is sweeping down lower to the ground. Center of gravity, keeping air out of it. I think this style is truly showing how low that the Losi is to the ground. The shocks are in the front versus on the Losi on the DR10, they're in the rear of the shock tower. So a little different design there. But by them being up front, when you push it down, the sweep to the rear isn't as drastic as it is on the DR10. And that's going to help with body rub. By having it more straight up and not sweeping back so far and just sweeping in is going to keep the wheels from pushing back in the body. Now the rears are pretty much the same. Shocks are on the same side. So the shock design, both of them are on the rear. The travel seems to be about the same. The transmission seems to be more towards the center. It's actually to the right a little more. Let me get you guys up so you can see that. So the transmission seems to be pushed over to the right, so that the motor, where the motor ends, is pretty much balancing the rear, which I like a lot compared to the DR10, where they actually centered the motor combination. So when you throw on a motor, everything is more towards the left, which is going to cause this thing to veer to one side. So I think Losi has made some dramatic changes with placement of their transmission, which I think is really good. I really think that it's going to work out really well. And the factory wheelie bar and the way they have it adjusted, I think is going to work out really good. Let's flip it over and compare the chassis. You can see the skinny platform, and that's kind of what you want on a drag build, is as skinny as possible, but with a wide stance. So I really like that. I also like the front shock design, or the front control arm design. These are sweeping down to bring it a lower stance on these control arms, where these are just angled where this is just angled and just sweeping up to get that lower stance. This actually has a step on that control arm that's really bringing down the ride height through this front lower control arm. And then you can tell the dramatic change that the shocks are going to make, because it's right on that curve. So you can raise it up or lower it even lower with these holes, where the DR10 for adjustability, as you see, doesn't give you the dramatic adjustability like the Losi. I think tuning on this Losi is going to be a lot better with the way they have their front shock set up. Moving on to the rear, we can see that same thing with this shock setup. You can see the dramatic positions, the three positions that you have on this control arm for the kick up for the shock, where the DR10, you just don't have that adjustability. They give you one extra hole, but the position isn't that dramatic. Now they do kick up the rear to lower it down on the DR10, where it looks like the Losi gives you the same sweep, but your shock tunability is pretty dramatic, and I like that as well. Even the upper links on the Losi seem to be really, really good. And you can see that overall, with the wheelie bar and everything, that the Losi is pretty good. The wide stance on the DR10 on the platform versus the skinniness of the Losi. I'm very excited about this. I really think the Losi is going to do really well. But you guys let me know. These are just things I'm seeing. I'm looking at it for the first time with you guys. So all I'm trying to do here is square up these rears, and then to show you how much longer the Losi is. So that little bit could make a dramatic change. You can see how the DR10 sweeps back a lot, and you can see how minimal the Losi sweeps back. And that also is going to make a big difference for rubbing the body on braking and keeping this RC pretty straight. So there we go, guys. There's the difference between the two ready to runs. Let me know what you guys think. Next, on the next video, I'll be comparing the slash conversion to the Losi and the DR10, and we'll see how that compares. This video is getting kind of long now, so I'm going to cut it short here. My next goal is to get the comparison with the slash conversion. Remember, those are conversions. They're not ready to runs. These are the two ready to runs that you can buy right out of the box and go no prep drag racing, fully assembled for you. So we'll go ahead and look at the Chuckworth RC IROC over there, right there. We'll look at the Chuckworth RC, and we'll look at Watermelon. And the plan is to get all of these out and run them down. I am gonna throw the GPS unit in each car because I'll be running them one by one just to get some numbers, some top speed, some mile per hour, and what it does in the 132 feet. There we go, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys on my next video. Thanks for watching.